You know, I find it ironic that there are mobile games out there that cost money, but they're out there. It's a real thing. So I looked through the racing game section and that got me thinking, are they worth the money? I mean, they'd have to be so good if they want me to spend money rather than play the vast selection of free alternatives. So I got some examples here and we're gonna see if they're worth the money, or rather, why they're not. So there's three main factors I'm gonna be considering here: price, content, and how good they are compared to the free options. So with each one, I'll go through all of these and see how good they are in each category. The first game I have here is Need for Speed Most Wanted. No, not that one, the bad one. EA decided to make a mobile version of the remaster of the previous game, and the price is $5, which honestly isn't that bad. The layout is this map with all of the sections of the city. So basically in this game you compete in various races where you have to go up against opponents and outrun the cops. And after a while you go up against somebody in the most wanted list. The main point of the game is to climb this list yourself to become the most wanted racer in the game. Each person on the list has a car with a unique design that's their weight. Hold on, what did you do? That paint job is atrocious. Let me remind you, that car is $300,000. How dare you lather this car with this filth? I can see why you're one of the most wanted. In terms of the normal races, they're actually pretty fun. It's what you'd expect from classic Need for Speed games. They're fast and intense. There's also different times of day to change it up a bit. There's different types of races as well, such as street, checkpoint, and speedrun. The most wanted races are kind of just jumbled in there, so you might face one person at the beginning or at the end or in the middle. I really like the overall gameplay and the graphics are honestly really good. There's also a pretty banger soundtrack. There are a couple issues I have though. One being that the cops are barely there, and when they are, they're just super annoying. Not in a, oh, this is quite the challenge annoying, but let me slingshot past your opponents and try to ram you into the side type of annoying. It feels like they're kind of there just to be there. Sometimes they'll put spikes on the ground or form a blockade, but those are pretty avoidable. Cop chasing could have been its own game mode in my opinion, and I understand why they're here, but for the most part I kind of forgot about them. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal though. It doesn't ruin the experience. As for the cars, I do have to say, everybody in this universe is rich. Most of them in this game are worth at least $50,000. They're split into different categories from muscle, exotic, and SUVs. I really like the selection though. All of these cars are really sick. They even got the SL65. Ooh, yes, Poppy. They all have their own options for paint, so some of them have a lot and some don't. If I'm being honest, that's not really an issue because that's not a highlight of this game. Although it does suck that it costs to change the paint. There's also mods you can add to boost the car's performance, although there's nothing crazy here. You know, weirdly enough, I actually think this game is worth the money. There's quite a bit here. It's really fun and nothing seems wrong, except it isn't worth the money because it isn't available anymore. So it was last updated in 2018 and it's no longer available for newer devices. I couldn't even play it on my 5-year-old S20 Plus. It's still available for older devices, but it has to be really old. And I doubt most of you are rocking the Galaxy S9. Unless you are, in which, nice. So I had to contact a Nigerian prince I gave money to many years ago to send me a copy of this game that had everything on it. Now I don't openly support pirating, but there's no other way to play this game. So if someone were to hypothetically do that, they would be able to. This is one of the most fun games I've ever played though, and it's definitely better than the competition. This is a situation where the right game was made on the wrong platform. Next I have Mr. Racing. It goes for $5 and ooh, these graphics are buns. This is not a great start if I'm being honest, but let's give it a shot. You start out on what seems to be the edge of a cliff with a pseudo Mini Cooper, and man, you gotta love the advertisement on the billboard. There's also this song that plays in the background that's kind of hard to understand. All I hear is something something good boy, something something good girl, in which hey, you guys are. Now there's a section that says game mode, and when you click on it, there are quite a few modes you can play, but challenge is gonna be the more important one. It's really simple. Each race gives you a specific task to complete, whether it's reaching the finish line or overtaking a certain amount of times. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought the gameplay was gonna be trash, but it's actually kind of fun. I like how the camera angle changes as you hit the gas. It really makes it feel like you're speeding, and it gets better and better with different cars. There are a few different maps, but you're still going in a straight line. Now the main point of this game is to bob and weave through traffic, and as the levels progress, it gets harder and harder to do. If you hit a car, you end up failing the challenge. challenge. As for the cars, there's a wide selection of non-license options. Ew, they use the metric system. I do like the names though. I find them very fitting to the cars. Is that the freaking Batmobile? There's a tasteful amount of customizations you can do, like the paint and the underglow. You can even change the wheels and lower the car if you want, which is interesting considering most of these cars are pretty low, but hey, you can do it. You can even change the license plate, which is always nice. I do like how the entire background changes with the color you select. I think that's a really neat aesthetic for the game. Now, career is very similar to the challenge mode, except you're going one-on-one with opponents. This game mode felt very unnecessary, and it's honestly not that fun. It's pretty much the same thing each race. You just drive in a straight line, weaving through traffic until you win. And it's also not fair that you can just stop on a dime no matter how fast you're going. I was just able to cheese through many of the races, and it wasn't very fulfilling. I do like that the map spells Mr. Racer though. Oh, you can also change the camera angle to make it look like one of those crappy mobile game ads. I would go into the other game modes, but they're more or less the same thing. There's little tweaks and differences, but nothing substantial. I really wanted to like this game, and I kinda do. I like the charm it has, but it's too repetitive, and again, it costs $5. It's not the worst game in the world, but there's far better ones out there, and it's definitely not worth the money it asks for. This game is called Driving Zone Germany Pro. It costs 79 cents, which is very cheap. The layout is very simple. You just have 3 options. Once you click start game, you immediately get to select your car. As the game is titled, there are only German cars here, and all the cool ones cost a crap ton of money. You can drive an E55 though, which is pretty sick. You also get the option to test drive them. Now this game only has 4 modes: driving school, career, street racing, and drift. There's 3 maps spread across 6 levels, with apparently more coming soon. Here you'll learn all the basics to the game and how to play it properly. This game mode is honestly pretty unnecessary considering the controls are very simple. You do get to check out some of the graphical features like the reflections and the different times of day. However, I don't think the weather conditions affect the car's performance. Street racing is just a mode where you can do whatever you want. There's 3 maps you can play on, but they look really good. The whole objective is to earn points by doing crazier, more extreme stunts, in which I can see why you can earn so many points, because the controls and handling absolutely suck. Using tilt controls makes the car too sensitive, and using the arrows makes it too stiff. This can differ between cars though, as some are just genuinely better to use. And other than the Bavarian Alps, the other maps are just endless strips of road. You can change the times of day, but that doesn't make the gameplay any better. Overall, the street racing section is very boring. The career mode isn't really anything either. It's just a bunch of levels with different tasks for you to do before the time runs out, which is fine. I just don't get how that's a career of any sort. I know I've been bashing this game a bit, but there are some really good things about it. One, the graphics are pretty nice for a mobile game, and I really like the engine sounds. And when it comes to the cars, there's actually quite a bit you can do with them. So fitting upgrades are a little different here. For the engine, there's a variety you can choose from, and this applies for every car in the game. There's only one exhaust option, but hey, it's there. You could add nitrous and slow down time if you feel like doing that. You can lower your car, which is always cool. And you can even change the drivetrain. I don't know who in their right mind would make any of these cars front wheel drive, but hey, you can do it if you want. And then there's some customization stuff like the color, the wheels, and the window tint. The drift mode is very basic. You just drift. I'm being honest, there really isn't anything to it after that. This game is weirdly cool and weirdly uncool. There's parts I like about it, but there's nothing unique that makes it stand out. And it's definitely not worth 79 cents, because the pro version just removes the ads and gives you unlimited health. The game itself is fine, but I wouldn't spend money on it, especially since you can get like 95% of what this is in the free version. But at the same time, 79 cents really is nothing almost. I'll leave it up to you, but I recommend just playing the free version. Now we have a very interesting game here. This is Grid Autosport. Now this is originally a console game, but they decided to make a mobile port of it. But currently goes for $9, and I'll talk about that. If you're not ready to cough up the money yet, there is a separate app called Grid Autosport Custom Edition, which is pretty much a demo of this game. Now you start off putting in your name, and then after that you have to put in your surname, then you have to give your nationality, and then your audio name. Then after that you can start customizing things like the difficulty and controls. In Custom Edition you're only allowed 1 car and 1 track to play, but you can change the livery if you want. The difficulty you choose does affect the XP you earn, but you're able to change it whenever you want. There's 3 modes you can play: race, time attack, and eliminator. Now we get to the gameplay, and this is gonna be a hot take, but I don't like it. I want to be able to earn more XP by playing in the higher difficulty, but man, the opponents are so annoying. They'll just blatantly run into you with no regards to themselves. In my first race, I got into a crash not even 10 seconds in. The overall vibe is very aggressive and edgy, which I think is fine, but it's not very suitable for a realistic driving simulator. And I don't know about you guys, but I was only able to find my groove with the handling in first person. It could just be that I'm trash though, so. This game seemed only fair in rookie mode, but then it was just too easy. Now I know this is only the custom edition, but even in the full version, you'll still probably run into these same issues. And that being said, let's talk about the full version. So in the full game, there's a lot more of everything. There's a ton of modes, a ton of cars, and a ton of tracks. This is probably one of the most content-filled racing games on the Play Store. But even with that, I still don't think this game is worth $9. And it's really not because the game is necessarily bad. It's just that there are other games that are just as good that are free. I honestly think Real Racing 3 is a better game compared to this. Over there you also get a ton of cars and a ton of tracks and a ton of game modes, but for free. And the physics, although flawed in their own ways, I found to be better and more beneficial for casual players. Unless you're incredibly biased towards grid, I don't understand getting this game, especially since Google Play doesn't allow refunds, so once you get it, that's it. In a long-term perspective, you'd be better off waiting until you get a console or a PC and just getting Grid Legends on there. And it's not like this game is significantly better than the competition. I mean, you have a ton of games out there that do one of the many game modes this game features a lot better than the game itself does. And since those are all free, I'd rather you just get all of those. Grid Autosport isn't a bad game, but in my opinion, it's a waste of money here. And that's honestly the overall conclusion. It doesn't make sense to spend money on any of these games because you either can't or they're simply not good enough. All in all, I'd say don't spend money on mobile racing games, or mobile games at all for that matter.